Hello everyone, this is Athorax.
Greetings.
Hope you're all keeping well. As some of you might know, I am a huge Barb fan. If there's one thing I know how to build right in the Diablo series, that is a Barb. I'm so excited for Season 4, there's going to be so many new changes. There's literally going to be situations where we will not be prepared for, and honestly it feels like it's going to be a new unexplored land, and I can't wait. In light of that, I've decided to create a new defensive template for Barb, which is going to provide you with a sturdy base upon which you can create any damage build you desire, be it for leveling or for endgame. I like to stress out that this is not going to touch upon where and how to level up fast, but rather about your choices, especially defensive choices and the theory craft side of it. Still, as a rule of thumb, if you like to level up fast, you should do so in a party and do your best to kill content which is 5 or 10 levels, especially 10 levels higher than you. Still, without further ado, let's get to what makes a Barb tick defensively. First thing we're going to cover is going to be the skill tree, and I'm going to provide a link into the description so you'll be able to see the whole leveling guides on your own. There's going to be a few options where you can just look up everything: Paragon skill tree, gears and skills, anything. Still, first off, we start with the basic skills. The best two basic skills in the game are going to be Frenzy and Flay, and the reason for that is because they both provide with all damage reduction. So if you're new to the game, or if you want to just play it safely and have a nice base, feel free to choose either of them. It's going to be either Combat Frenzy or Combat Flay. Flay gives you only 12% damage reduction, but it also gives you Thorns, so that's not too bad. Bash and Lunging Strike are not too bad, but I would suggest only doing them if you know exactly what you're doing and if you have a good plan for the future. Next up, we're going to the core skill tree. In here, you can choose anything you desire. I've chosen Upheaval just for the sake of choosing it. You can choose anything will work. It's up to your personal choice. The next thing I like to say as well is, before we move on, is I have set up a leveling path that should kind of help you. Feel free to follow it, especially until level 20. That's gonna set up your defenses quickly, and you should be able to survive most of the early content if you follow the leveling path. The next thing you want to do is, after you choose 1 point, basically just choose 1 point in each of them. You don't have to overspend in the beginning. So for instance, just choose 1 point of Flay of each, and then you can choose maybe double swing 1 point of each, and this will leave you to the point where you go to the defensive skills. That's a very important section. The first thing you want to do is get a challenging shout. That's shout number 1. You get shout number 2, rallying cry. You also invest into rallying cry, enhanced rallying cry, and strategic rallying cry. That makes you unstoppable. That's going to provide you with damage reduction while fortified. Damage reduction while fortified has been buffed, so it doesn't provide you with a base defense of 10%, now it's 15%, so that's even better, kind of to account for the lack of all damage reduction affixes from gear, but still, this is the things that you kind of want to do. And as soon as you do that, the next thing you want to do is you want to put 1 point in imposing presence if you follow the path. That's going to give you a bit more max life, and I'll get into why that's important in a bit. After you do that, you go with Warcry. That's your shout number 3. As soon as you do that, booming voice, get 1 point up to be able to unlock Raid Leader. Max out Raid Leader as soon as you can. That's gonna get you 3% per second of your maximum life. So as soon as you max that out, you go back and you put another point in booming voice to extend the duration. And what's gonna happen here is we're gonna have 3 shouts. All of these 3 shouts are gonna get you that much needed self-healing. That self-healing is going to provide you with sort of an invisible kind of barrier, which is going to help you even as you fight without having to use too much healing potions. You're just going to be able to self-heal, and if you take a lot of punishment, then yeah, sure, you can use the healing potions, but you don't have to spend them too much, and it's just going to make you a bit more tankier. As soon as you've done that, you go back to imposing presence. You pretty much max it out again. it's great because it's going to expand your max life, and you're going to get even a bigger benefit out of those 3% from the heal. So that's one of the things to kind of set you up. The next thing you want to do is obviously go into damage reduction while fortified. You want to stay as fortified as much as you can, and having these extra 6% on top is going to get you to 21% damage reduction, so that's going to be great. I like to point out for some of you that don't know, damage reduction groups stack upon each other. So first you have all damage reductions from the Frenzy of Flay, then you have your self-healing. On top of that you get Fortified, which is another group. So you pretty much stack up and stack up and stack up, and that's going to keep you alive. As soon as you've pretty much done the defensive stance, it's time to get a bit more on the offensive side. You're welcome to choose anything you like from here. That's just an example. As soon as you got a bit of your ultimate up and running, feel free to go back to Martial Vigor. Martial Vigor is amazing. It just gets you damage reduction against the elites and actually bosses. So this is another separate damage reduction group which you put up on top. So now you got 4 of them. And it's just that much better to keep you alive, especially against harder content like bosses and elites. The next thing you want to do is Invigorating Fury. The thing is with Invigorating Fury, it really depends on what kind of build you want. If you want to build a basic build, then you're not going to be spending too much Fury, so it's all about that spending of Fury. Again, it's a good thing to have. It's going to keep you alive. For instance, if you decide to choose Upheaval or Halter, that's a very good defensive skill in that case. Then you want to go to Unconstrained. Unconstrained is a very good leveling perk because it's going to boost your damage to pretty much twice, and it won't create you any troubles, unlike Unbridled Rage, where it doubles the amount of fury required. So for now, it's best if you stick to Unconstrained while you level. The next thing you want to do is you kind of want to boost up your offenses. So Enhanced Warcry, you get Berserking while you have the Warcry. You get Counter Offensive for even more damage. After that point, you kind of want to balance between offense and defensive skills and perks. Gutter Royale is something really great. Seems to be like a hidden group. It doesn't stack up with all damage. Those 12% seem to be hidden on their own. But if you play your shouts right, and if you time your shouts right, you're going to have the self-healing, and you're going to have another extra 12% damage reduction on top of that. That's going to keep you definitely alive. Another thing which you want to do defensively is, once you get, again, you balance. At this point, you're going to be probably level 30, 40. You're going to be balancing between damage and defense. It's not going to be just defense. You want to get to Pit Fighter. It gets you another 6% damage reduction against distant. It's not the best, but this, because of all of the damage affixes, all the damage reduction affixes being removed, that's going to help you out a lot. You are also able to free to choose aggressive resistance. That provides you all damage reduction. It's not too bad, but there are a few reasons why I haven't chosen it just for this particular one. Again, when it comes to the damage side of things, you're free to choose anything and everything that works for your builds. These are just examples which work well with Upheaval, nothing else. So one thing I'd like to say is the defensive perks are pretty much the one thing you want to concentrate and have. The rest, like I said again, it's up to you. Another thing you might want to have later in game is Outburst. It actually gives you taunts, and taunts for each 50 bonus maximum life you have on top. So it's very good, can actually work really well with Flay on top of everything. And yeah, one of the main reasons you want to have more maximum life is the fact that not only do you get more out of the self-healing, but at the same time you get a bigger fortify pool. So effectively, if you have 2500 life instead of just 2000, you get 2500 fortify. So those 500 extra maximum life get actually they receive damage reduction of 21% on top of it. So literally you get more effective health than 2500. You get 2700, for instance. And that's why you really want to concentrate on to buffing up the life as much as you can. That's pretty much the best thing to do. The next thing I'm going to go and concentrate on is going to be the actual affixes in your choices. what you want to do, especially early game, is concentrate on armor. Armor is going to reduce that physical damage that you receive, and the good part about it is next season we're going to be able to have armor on every single piece of gear, and that's going to be really helpful to kind of get that armor up and going very early. The next thing you want to do obviously is get some maximum life if you can on gear, get some all resistances, the usual things. If you get to tempering, if you manage to find any of the defensive manuals, feel free to use any of them, but looking at everything, by far the best thing to choose is Imposing Presence if you actually manage to find that manual. The reason for it is, first off, percentage wise, when you look at it, Imposing Presence gives you 6% as a figure per one rank. Everything else gives you 4% or 2%, so just by that point alone, Imposing Presence is way better. The thing is though, like I said, you also at the same time you're gonna expand your maximum life, so you're gonna heal more, so really and truly you want to have Imposing Presence if you can. It's good to have damage reductions, but not for the sake of maximum life. Armor, especially maximum life, come first for a Barb if you want to really keep on the defensive side of it. So yeah, the good part about it is weapons also provide with maximum life this season, so you can definitely take advantage of that. You are going to need, you might or might not need total armor instead of one of the Imposing Presences. That's going to be up to your build and up to how you choose to do it later on in the game. But that's pretty much when it comes to affixes and leveling affixes to kind of keep you alive. The next thing I like to touch upon is the aspects. Depending on whether you're following the story or not, you're gonna be able to choose certain aspects either way. I highly advise you to concentrate on going with aspect of the protector early. You can actually get it from Fractured Peaks very early in the game. You can also get, if you follow the story, you're gonna get at the end of Act 1 protecting aspects, which creates your bubble, which is very good. That's one of the other reasons you kind of want to go through the story just even up until Act 1, it's just because so you can get that. You can probably get that from any other drop, but this is pretty much a guaranteed drop for this affix, and that's gonna make your life a bit easier defensively. You want to get eluding aspects early in the game as well. It's just gonna be like a failsafe in case you get stunned, and it's just gonna make you unstoppable if you really get hurt, so that's a good thing to have on top of the rallying cry, of course. And when it comes to gems, you pretty much want to stack up all resistances on the gems. Obviously there's going to be smaller values than 6%, but that's pretty much the best. When it comes to armor, max life all the way up. If you can, if you have any gems, if you have any sockets, do your best to put up that in the early game and in general. Yeah, if you actually don't follow the story, you might want to get Aspect of Might as soon as possible. It's gonna work really well with Frenzy and Flay. It's gonna get you another 20%, so you get to, well, not exactly 32% or 44% because there are damage reductions, but it's gonna get you to maybe 38% or 30%, so it's still a very good combo between the two of them. Another thing you want to get is, if you progress through the story or if you just play without the story, is Aspect of Disobedience. You can also kind of get Aspect of the Juggernaut depending on your availability, but pretty much one of them will kind of really help out as well. The other thing I'd like to say is, you may choose to go with the Shouts, but you may also choose to go with Iron Skin, and there are a few good options when it comes to like aspects. So for instance, there's Aspect of the Iron Warrior, which is going to boost up that Iron Skin even more. You can choose Aspect of Iron Blood if you're building a Bleed Barb or anything like that. That's gonna pretty much help you out and get you another all damage reduction. So there are quite actually a few of them which are noteworthy to kind of have a look at. Another one, very good one, is aspect of Undying. It's literally heals you up, and I'll just show it to you now. So Undying, every time you swing your blade or you do anything, gives you another 2% life, so that's gonna keep you very well up and alive, if you manage to find a maxed one, of course. Noteworthy uniques as you level up are the Tusk Helm of Arreat. That's just a great one. Gives you all damage reduction. Gives you pretty much yeah, all of the other offensive aspects. Soulbrand, damage reduction from close enemies, not a bad one. T-Bolts gets you damage reduction from close and damage, which is great. Flicker Step, perfect, gets your cooldown reduction of your ultimate, and at the same time you get damage reduction from close on top of that. So that these are actually, as you level up, they're actually quite valuable as well. So you can kind of, if you get lucky and get one of them, you can kind of choose to swap any of those things. Another thing to say is Battle Trance works absolutely amazingly with Frenzy. Not does it only give you damage reduction to close, but at the same time increases your Frenzy stack, so you can get up to 5 stacks, and that's gonna get you pretty much 40% all damage reduction, even better when you have all stacks up. So yeah, feel free to kind of explore and kind of test out all of these things. The last thing I'm going to get to is the Paragon Boards. Now what I've done is I've highlighted all of the more important survival perks here. How you get to them, how you choose your path, and what kind of build you have, that's going to be totally up to you. But you might want to invest into these defensive perks, and especially I've kind of sorted them by order. So the ones at the first Paragon Boards in all of this are going to have the most damage reductions and going to be the most valuable ones. So if you actually go with the max life on the first board, that's gonna boost up your max life, that's gonna just help you out even more. And then you got the damage reduction from close glyph. You don't have to use that glyph for late game, but it's a good one for early game, and as you level, it just gets you way more damage reduction from close in case you're lacking from other gears and places. Then you have a bit of the second one. The second board is very important. Warbringer gives you a lot of maximum life perks, gives you resistances, gives you fire resistance and max life, which is kind of nice to have if you decide. This board is probably one of the best ones, the Bonebreaker. It literally provides you with damage reduction while fortified on top of everything, so you're gonna probably get to 30% easily here. 21% over then, 30% here, so another 8% here, it's going to be 30, so it's great. Maximum life, again, absolutely good, and this is pretty much the best thing I've seen. This is literally going to provide you with another damage reduction group on top, so that's probably number 5 by now. Damage reduction while healthy, so that works really well with you having the self heals, the expanded maximum life. You want to do your best to stay above 80%, so you can benefit from damage reduction while healthy. So the bigger health pool you have, the bigger amount of basically self-healing you have, that's going to be even better for you to kind of keep above those 80%. And obviously the Marshal is going to increase the yellow perk, so you're going to have about 20% damage reduction while healthy, or even 25%. It's absolutely great. I highly encourage you to kind of invest into that board, if not anything else. Now the following boards you have here, Carnage. Carnage is quite good because you get damage reduction from close enemies, and you can combine that with Revenge. It's gonna double the effect, and it's gonna be just even better. Again, if you're lacking any damage reduction from close, or if you just want to kind of bump up the figure, very good. The next boards are pretty much more kind of build oriented for specific builds, like you can get damage reduction from bleeding enemies if you're making a bleed barb, or you can kind of go with let's say the vulnerable damage reductions, but these are the perks you might want to concentrate on the defensive side as you kind of create your builds. So feel free to have a look, and I generally hope that all of this information kind of helps you out and gives you a sturdy leveling experience. And literally, I've left a bit of a note guide here for you. Feel free to read it on that up. At one point, if you see the butcher early game, especially if you don't have much armor, try to kind of get out of his way and don't try to fight him. I mean, you could if you're good, if you know what you're doing, give it a shot. But after level 30, once you set up your defenses, yeah, like I say here, now you're the monster. He's gonna be running away from you. Well, not literally, but you're gonna just smack the hell out of him. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great experience. I'll see you all on season 4 if you play on hardcore. If there's anything I missed out, if there's anything you want to talk about, feel free to share in the comments. Thank you for watching and have a nice one.